The ultrasound room was too quiet, the kind of quiet that presses against your chest and makes your heart race for no reason. I sat beside Lena, my hand wrapped around hers, her fingers cold despite the warm September light spilling through the window. Her belly, round and perfect at 6 months, glowed under the soft hum of the machine. I was ready, God, I was so ready to be a dad. But then the doctor's face changed, a flicker of something I couldn't read, and in that split second, my world started to crack. Lena and I had been married for 3 years, together for 7. We'd built a life in our cozy Seattle apartment, with its creaky hardwood floors and the coffee mugs we'd collected from every road trip. She was my anchor, dark curls, quick laugh, the kind of woman who could make you feel like the only person in the room. When she told me she was pregnant, I'd cried harder than she did, already picturing our kids' first steps, first words, first everything. We'd spent nights planning. A crib in the corner, a name we both loved, Elliot, for a boy or a girl. I was all in heart and soul. The doctor, a wiry man with wireframe glasses, cleared his throat. Mr. and Mrs. Carter, there's something we need to discuss. His voice was steady, but his eyes darted to Lena, then back to the screen. My stomach twisted. Lena's hand tightened in mine, but she didn't look at me. The blood work from your last visit came back with unexpected results. Unexpected how? I asked, my voice sharper than I meant. Lena's fingers went slack in my grip. He hesitated, glancing at Lena again. The paternity test we ran as part of the routine genetic screening. It shows that Mr. Carter, you're not biologically related to the fetus. The words hit like a punch to the throat. I couldn't breathe. The room spun, the ultrasound screen blurring into a mess of gray and black. Lena's hand slipped from mine entirely. What? I managed, my voice barely a whisper. That's not possible. Lena was silent, her gaze fixed on the floor. The doctor shifted uncomfortably. These tests are highly accurate. I'm sorry, Mr. Carter. I can give you some time. No, I cut him off, turning to Lena. What the hell is he talking about? My voice cracked, desperation seeping through. Her silence was louder than any scream. Evan, she finally said, her voice small, trembling. I need to tell you something. I don't remember standing, but I was on my feet, pacing the tiny room like a caged animal. Tell me what, Lena? Tell me what could possibly explain this. My hands shook, and I shoved them into my pockets to hide it. The doctor mumbled something about privacy and slipped out, leaving us in that suffocating silence. She looked up at me, her hazel eyes brimming with tears. It was one time, Evan. One stupid, awful mistake. One time. I laughed, a bitter, broken sound. You're pregnant, Lena. That's not a one-time kind of mistake. Her face crumpled, and she buried it in her hands. It was last year. The conference in Portland. I was drunk, and you were working late all the time. And I felt so alone. It didn't mean anything. Didn't mean anything? I echoed, my voice rising. You're carrying his kid, Lena. Our kid. The one we named Elliot. The one My voice broke, and I turned away, pressing my palms against my eyes to stop the tears. I'd spent months talking to her belly, singing stupid lullabies, imagining a future that wasn't even mine. Who? I demanded, spinning back to face her. Who is he? She hesitated, her lips trembling. It was Mark. Mark. Her coworker. The guy who'd always lingered too long at our dinner parties, who laughed too loud at her jokes. I'd never liked him, but I'd trusted her. I'd trusted us. Mark. I repeated, the name tasting like ash. How could you? I'm so sorry, she sobbed, reaching for me. I flinched away, and her hand fell to her lap. I didn't know how to tell you. I hoped it was yours. I wanted it to be yours. I wanted to scream, to break something, to make her feel the weight of the betrayal crushing my chest. But all I could do was stare at her, the woman I loved, who'd shattered everything. You let me believe this was our family, I said, my voice low, raw. You let me plan, dream, love that kid like it was mine. I know, she whispered. I was scared. I didn't want to lose you. I laughed again, hollow. Well, you've done a great job of that. The days that followed were a blur of pain and silence. I moved to the guest room, unable to sleep beside her. unable to look at her without seeing Mark's face. Every ultrasound picture on the fridge, every baby book on the coffee table, felt like a lie. I couldn't eat, couldn't focus at work. My boss told me to take time off, but time off just meant more hours trapped in my head, replaying her words. It didn't mean anything. I started digging, because I needed to know. I checked her phone when she was in the shower, hating myself for it, but unable to stop. There were no recent messages to Mark, but I found an email from months ago, buried in her archived folder. I miss you, it read. Can we talk? My stomach lurched. Not just one night. Not just a mistake. When I confronted her, she swore it was over, that she'd cut contact after she found out she was pregnant. I chose you, Evan, she said, tears streaming down her face. I love you. I want us to fix this. Fix this. I snapped. How do you fix a lie this big? How do I look at that kid every day and not see him? She flinched like I'd hit her. Don't say that. This baby is innocent. She was right and I hated it. The baby, Elliot, wasn't to blame. But every time I thought of that name, I felt the knife twist deeper. I wanted to love that child. But how could I when every glance at Lena's belly reminded me of her betrayal? I started seeing a therapist, a quiet woman with kind eyes who let me rage and cry without judgment. Trust is a house, she said once. Lena burned it down. You decide if you want to rebuild, but it'll take time, and it won't look the same. I didn't know if I could rebuild. I didn't know if I wanted to. But I couldn't leave either, not yet. So I stayed, stuck in limbo, watching Lena move through the apartment like a ghost, her belly growing, her apologies endless but empty. The night she went into labor, I was awake, staring at the ceiling in the guest room. Her cry from the bedroom jolted me upright. Evan, it's time, she called, her voice tight with pain. I drove her to the hospital, my hands steady on the wheel despite the chaos in my chest. I stayed by her side, not because I'd forgiven her, but because I couldn't let her go through it alone. When Elliot was born, tiny and perfect with Lena's dark curls, I felt something break open inside me. The nurse placed him in my arms, and I looked down at his scrunched face, his tiny fists. He wasn't mine, not by blood. But in that moment I didn't care. I loved him fiercely, painfully, despite everything. Lena watched me, her eyes red and pleading. Can we try? She whispered. For him. I didn't answer. I just held Elliot tighter, feeling the weight of him, the warmth. The road ahead was a mess of hurt and choices I wasn't ready to make. But as his tiny hand curled around my finger, I knew one thing. I was his dad, blood or not. And that was enough to keep me standing there, broken but unbroken, ready to face whatever came next.